It's time for the Movin the Chains podcast. Your home for high school football coverage in the Palmetto State. Every team, every game, every week. And now your hosts, Kevin Thomas and John Epps.
Welcome in, folks. Kevin Thomas, John Epps here for our state championships, weekend of champions preview show. John, the season has literally flown by. We have a huge 3 days of football this year coming up this weekend.
Yeah, you know, I'm along the days of the old weekend of champions where you have what was the big 16 game on Friday night at Williams-Brice, of course, and then Saturday morning. All day. I think it started out, it went 1A, 10 a.m., 4A, which was really what's 5A now, but not the big 16, was about 1:32, and then you had 2A, and then the nightcap was the big 3A game, which would have been, of course, Daniel Camden. Always an exciting classification, but a good lineup. But hey, we got 3 days. I guess the silver lining is we can't be mad about multiple days of football.
That's right. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll be down there at least for the first couple of days, working on Saturday. Still figuring we'll definitely be there for Thursday and Friday, though. There's good stuff there. But this is you guys' first time tuning in. We appreciate it. We're here on Facebook Live every Tuesday night with the preview show. Facebook /Movin Chains. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Movin Chains, MovinChains. We do a recap show on Sundays. It comes out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We do interviews throughout the week. They usually come out on Facebook and also our podcast platform, same with this show here. So definitely check us out on all of our different areas. We got some good stuff coming up for you guys on Twitter and Instagram as well. So definitely tune in to all of them. John, any final words here you want to go through before we kind of get into some of these games here?
I feel like, we talked at the beginning of the year for sure. We talked about our predictions and how we went through each classification. And for a lot of them, we were like, well, I think this is far and away the number one team in the state. We went through and I think this is far and away the number one team in lower state, far and away the best team in upper state. And here we are, here at the end of the road, and not all of those teams are here.
No.
We have had some incredible surprises. We've had some teams get really hot. We've had some upsets. It's really, really been fun to keep up with the last few weeks. The regular season aside, just the playoffs itself has been so exciting with the upsets and teams we just didn't expect to be here or here. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's get rolling here in 5A, John. Now, these are two teams that we did expect to be there.
Yes.
The Gaffney Indians and the Dutch Fork Silver Foxes. This is going to be a whale of a ball game. Two of the top 3 teams in the polls all season long, along with Fort Dorchester, who was there. Dutch Fork consensus number 1 all year long. Gaffney was usually sitting there at number 3, John. Gaffney coming off a big victory over Spartanburg, 56-34, a game where they were down at half, 24-21. It came out fire in third quarter, 21-0 third quarter. They really kind of blew them out after that point forward. Dutch Fork's in a dogfight with Fort Dorchester, 21-14. They took an early 14-0 lead. Dutch Fork outplayed it from that point forward and won the game 14-7 from that point forward. But 14-0 Gaffney, 13-0 Dutch Fork, John. Just two powerhouse programs here.
Yeah, and you like Dutch Fork, of course, for how well they've played all year, how well they've played for the last few years.
Yeah.
But, I would typically just go straight out and say, yeah, Dutch Fork's probably going to win this game by 7 or 10. I honestly think this game is going to come down. It's going to be one of those games that's going to come down. After the game, we're going to go, man, it was that one play.
Yeah.
That one play is why Gaffney won, or that one play is why Dutch Fork won this game. I think it's going to be that close. And I think a big reason is, hearing talk after Friday's game at Fort Dorchester last week too. Dutch Fork, they are not 100% healthy, and no one probably is 100% healthy at this point in time. But, hearing Coach Knox talk about it, and he admitted it, they're banged up. He said they were banged up going to the Fort Dorchester game. It was a super physical game that they had against a very good defense in Sumter the week prior. And they said Fort Dorchester was equally or more physical than Sumter was, and they're just beat up from it. And Gaffney, here they are. They got to cruise a little bit Friday. I don't know how much they rested in.
Not the first half they didn't cruise.
Not the first half. But, they were able to take it easy a little bit at the end of that game, and they seem like they're more fresh coming to this ball game than Dutch Fork is. And I think Gaffney's got to have some things go their way, but the fact that I think they are more fresh and they may have a little more pop in their step than Dutch Fork after two very physical games. We mentioned this a lot. Dutch Fork hasn't played a fourth quarter game all year. They did last week.
Had to.
And you guys probably covered it in Saturday's show. One of those touchdowns they had was a 98-yard touchdown on Antonio.
Yeah, first drive, second half, I think, or second drive, second.
A big play. They don't have that big play. They may not win the game. But they did, and that's why they're so good. But I think this is going to be a one-play kind of game. I'm really excited about this one. But I don't know. Is it going to be low scoring? Is it going to be high scoring? I don't know.
Hard to say. I've got some stats on that here. If you look at these two teams, Gaffney averaging 38 points per game on offense, allowing 17 on defense. Dutch Fork averaging 52 on offense, Sean, 11 on defense. So both teams, pretty big spread there on both sides, really. We mentioned every week, Gaffney has so many playmakers. Grayson Loftus and Tyler Smith and Ken Littlejohn and Edward Jeffries and Landon Bullock and Nathan Johnson and Jesus Dowdle and Eddie Tate McDowell and Marquise Bradley and Brayshawn Littlejohn. I'm sure I left out 3 or 4 guys. They got talent over the field. So does Dutch Fork. Davin Patterson, Jarvis Green, Antonio Williams. They got the Soul Kid. They got Wicker and Danley and Perry on defense. Both teams have just Division I talent all across the board. You mentioned that Dutch Fork, being beat up, and that's one thing that kind of worries me too. Jarvis Green had 2 early touchdowns last week. Kind of got banged up second half. I don't know if he's 100% or not. That's been something that kind of scares me there. But another thing we haven't mentioned yet, John, is that this game was supposed to happen in week 1. This game got canceled when Jack Alcatiba, untimely death there for Dutch Fork. The game got postponed. But glad we get to see it now. Obviously, you hate the circumstances of what happened there in week 1, but glad we get to finally see this game now. Couple points that I've written down here, John, is that we mentioned it the last few weeks. That Gaffney defense and special teams has been so opportunistic. Like, blocking punts, recovering a muff punt, a pick at a big time, a fumble, whatever. That type of stuff makes or breaks championship games. And if they can have one of those, maybe 2 of those, they got a really good shot to win this one, I think.
If they don't do it against Northwestern, they're probably not here.
Exactly right.
Northwestern might be here. It wins ball games. It's special teams are special. They don't get talked about enough, and it's not a problem until you goof it up.
Right, exactly. Nobody knows until that point.
I guarantee you, Northwestern, they're going to be practicing a ton of special teams before they get ready for next season. But it's a huge part of the game, and Dutch Fork does everything well. They play defense well. They hit you hard. They got solid quarterback play. They got playmakers on the outside. Green, obviously, a great player. But for me, I think it's Gaffney. What are they bad at?
Yeah.
It's not defense. It's not quarterback. It's not running the ball. It's not athletes. It's sure as heck it's not special teams.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite an even matchup, and I'm just worried about how healthy Dutch Fork is coming into this game, and for Gaffney, being physical and coming out and hitting them, that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem for those boys, not one bit. They're going to look forward to that. I think they're going to relish that. And they've probably heard everything that we've heard.
Yeah.
They know that, hey, Dutch Fork, they might be a little wary. Let's go out and let's try to hit them right in the mouth right off the bat. I think I'm really, really excited about this game. More so than I would have been 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I do want to mention this. I know we mentioned Gaffney special teams. Antonio Williams in the punt return game is special as well. I think he's taken 3 or 4 to the house this year. So that's another thing on Dutch Fork's side where if they get a big play out of him, that's just gravy for those guys. But definitely something you got to watch out for if you're a Gaffney Indian is that punt return game by Antonio Williams. But Gaffney have some bullet point material too. Like they know Dutch Fork's going for 6 in a row. They heard what the Fort Dorchester coach said last week after the game, where he said that those 2 teams were playing for state, Fort Dorchester and Dutch Fork, and the rest of the guys might not even show up. I'm sure Gaffney heard that. Gaffney's tired of that. Gaffney's tired of a 62-game unbeaten streak or whatever, Dutch Fork has, all that stuff. They're hearing all of that. And one thing that I like a lot about Gaffney right now is that I feel like Grayson Loftus is playing his best football. He had probably his best game last week for 4 touchdowns, 250 plus. That was a question mark for me earlier in the year. Like, we knew he had the talent, we knew he could get it done, but there were some games where he just made some not the smartest throws here and there. But it's not like last week he played very well. And then protecting him up front, we heard Coach Knotts mention in the press conference. Gaffney has the best O-line they've seen. Those guys are big, they're physical, and we know what Tyler Smith can do running the ball. Just a stud there, stud there, stud there. But man, it's tough to pick against Dutch Fork. They're 5-time champs in a row for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's like, we're going to see Alabama play Georgia. And it's like, gosh, I think Georgia's got a good chance, but until they beat Alabama, you got to see it to believe it, right? You got to see it to believe it. You got to see somebody knock off. Mm-hmm. And really what we could say is we got to see Gaffney knock off Dutch Fork again before we believe it. Because, I don't know what game they lost before that, but that 62, that is marked by Gaffney. That was their last loss as well. And, we listened to the press conference earlier this week. Mm-hmm. Those Gaffney kids, they got to sit there and listen to it. Yeah. Coach, you won 62 games. Coach, what, 7 years, 7 championships in South Carolina, 7 in North Carolina. They got to listen to that. So they're going to be fired up and ready to go. This could be best ball game of the weekend.
One thing we're looking forward to is the matchup between Antonio Williams and Gaffney's Marquise Bradley. He's a kid, he's a big-time corner, big player. He's getting some looks, getting some D1 looks. We obviously know Antonio Williams, maybe the best player in the state, possibly. Getting offers from Auburn to Clemson to literally everywhere. He'll get a look from whoever he wants to go to will give him an option, pretty much, it seems like. But then Bradley, if he can, shut down Antonio somewhat, which I know is a tall task. If you take away Antonio Williams, and if Green is a little bit banged up, Dutch Fork, then you start to look around like, who do we go to now? Is it Soul? Who do we look at? Do we let Patterson run more? So that'll be a fun matchup there, watching Marquise Bradley and Antonio Williams go at it. But John, I think when it comes down to it, man, it's like you said, it's just tough to pick against Dutch Fork until somebody beats them.
Yeah, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I know Gaffney is all fired up, but it's Gaffney wins this game. I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not at all surprised. Dutch Fork's going to lose a game.
Yep,
it's going to happen. Someone's going to beat them, and it very well could be this weekend. And I think if Gaffney does beat them, and not take anything away from Gaffney, it's a big reason why they're healthy coming to this game. Mm-hmm. That's them. But I think, I don't know how much shred is still on tires for Dutch Fork, especially Jarvis Green, because he's such a big part of that offense. If Gaffney can say, listen, priority number one, we're going to shut down Antonio Williams.
Yeah.
And if Jarvis Green's not 100%, you got a little bit of leeway. It'll be interesting to see what Gaffney does to start the game, what their scheme is defensively, what they try to shut down first. Typically, you want to shut down the run.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do typically. But in this situation, maybe you try to shut down that pass first and see if you can make them run the ball. You got physical defense. You like your odds stopping the run too.
Yeah. But I'm going to go Dutch Fork in a close one. I think it really comes down to maybe who makes a pick or a fumble recovery, or maybe you get a big special teams play, whatever it is. I think Dutch Fork in a close one, maybe a one-score game, 31-28, 35-28, somewhere in that ballpark. But I like the Silver Foxes close, but if Gaffney wins it, would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say one-score game. I'm going to say a one-play game. I think it's going to be pretty clear once all is said and done where we like that play. That's the play that changed the game.
Quick shout-out, Kevron, Patrick, Tyrell, Greg, Devontae, David, JD's in here, Al's in here, Haley. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to comment on this stuff, let us know for sure. We'll have a fun time chatting with you guys tonight. Patrick says typical Gaffney fashion, talking about the game last week. Let's go Indians. Kevron says War Eagles, talking about Gray. We'll get to Gray here in a little bit. Tyrell said he's sad to see the Lakeview season end so soon. They should be practicing this week. They'll be back next year. Hey, man, Lakeview, they'll be back soon. They've got a lot of talent there. The Wild Gators always do, so that'll be fun. But, John, let's move now down into 4A, a matchup that going into the playoffs, I don't think anybody really saw this as a state championship game here, and that's South Pointe against Beaufort.
Yeah, this has been, Beaufort, what an incredible run. Awesome job by them. And, gosh, just to touch on Beaufort for we'll talk about South Pointe, of course, but to touch on Beaufort, they haven't bumped into this. They haven't just backed their way in to this position. You look at where they started out. They played South Florence, a team that we were very high on early in the season. They suffered some injuries, but they were still really good. They beat those guys by 2 scores in the first game. Then they go and blow out North Augusta 42-10. And then they beat who we thought was going to run away, or who I thought was going to run with the state championship, Myrtle Beach. Go on the road, a long road trip from Beaufort up to the Grand Strand, beat Myrtle Beach. They forced them to an ugly 2-point play at the end of the game to win that ball game. And then last week they closed it out by blowing out a really, really good West Florence team, 42-10. I mean, they're just doing everything right. They run the ball really, really well, but they can also pass the ball. They're not scared to put the ball in the air. They're obviously very well coached, and a coach that Devontae Holloman, coach at South Point, is very familiar with. They actually coached together.
He hired. That's right. LeBrand. Yep.
So they're familiar with one another, so it'll be interesting to see that storyline, how that plays out. But, I don't know. You're hard-pressed to find a team that's been more impressive statewide in the playoffs outside of Beaufort.
Yeah, and I'll get back to that there in a second there. South Point averaging 35 points on offense, 19 on defense. Beaufort 31-13. What I want to mention there about that, John, impressed me about Beaufort is they've won against a lot of different styles of teams too. It's like South Point, what they're doing with their run game was very impressive offensively. Kind of a lot of big plays there. And you look at the winner of Myrtle Beach, who could sling it around, score a lot. They shut them down. West Florence team played really good defense and ran the ball. They scored 40 on them and only gave up 10 points. So they've beaten all different styles of teams lately. Playing some really good ball there. They're led by guys like Tyler Haley at quarterback, Amari Morris, running back, Eamon Smalls, Hunter Rast. South Point, we know their names. Zay McCrory, Jaquan Thompson, Wayman Jeanneret, Caleb Kennard, Kendrick, Miller, Simpson. List goes on and on. Lots of talent there. South Point team that has been there year in, year out, always a player in 4A. Beaufort kind of new kid on the block. This is the team that, Drew and I talked about it Sunday. We kind of wrote them off when they lost to May River. That's it for them. They have a good year, maybe a first, second round playoff team. But they have really turned around lately, and they're playing just some great football. And looking back at it, we should have known when they beat Benedictine out of Georgia. That team is still playing, I think, as well in their playoffs. There's a big Georgia school there. They beat them. That should have been a sign for us. But I guess we didn't know enough about Georgia football at that time to know that. But those guys are playing great. And what I like about Beaufort right now, John, is they're making big special teams plays. That's kind of a theme of the night for me here. Against Myrtle Beach, they had a big punt return for a touchdown. Also had another long one that set up a late touchdown for them to give them the lead. Then last week against West Florence, they had a punt block for a touchdown. So they're scoring on special teams, which is a big part of the game here. But then you flip it over to South Point. They had a fumble return, 80 yards for a touchdown last week against Greenville. So they're doing the special things as well.
Yeah, for Beaufort, it's been incredible. That May River game we talk about. And May River was a lot better than we thought they were at that time. Yeah. That was early on in the year. And it was fun watching the press conference for the state championship earlier this week. One of the questions they asked, and some of the questions are a little off the wall, but one of the questions is, hey, when did you know you were going to play for the state championship, which I think it's a little goofy. But I like their answer.
We didn't ask the question, right?
I did like the player's answer. Yeah. I forget which player from Beaufort it was, but he said it was after we Benedictine. And the way that he spoke, they knew how good that school was, and how big of a deal it was to play them and to beat them, and to and you chalk that up to the coaching staff. That's such great by the coaching staff to schedule that game, and then when you win that game, you give these kids that confidence, and you give them that belief, like, hey, it doesn't matter that the rest of the state doesn't think you're any good. It doesn't matter that you're in and out of the top 10 all year. We're good, and they believe that. Yep. So that I give that hats off as much to the coaching staff as the players to get that game on the schedule and give those guys that kind of confidence, because that obviously went a long way throughout the season for them. Yeah,
looking at Beaufort and what they're doing, they're running the ball well with Morris. I think he had 4 touchdowns last week. Like I said, they're playing great defense, allowing 13 a game. But then Haley, that kid can really get it done at quarterback as well. But then looking at South Point, I got to mention this. We talk about all of Beaufort's great wins lately over West Florence, South Florence, Myrtle Beach. Beaufort has maybe 2 of the best wins of the state. And it's their bookend wins there. They beat Northwestern week 0. And then last week they beat a very good Greenville team. And that game was not as close as a 10-point game. I also do that on the radio the whole time. That game wasn't that close. They really shut down Greenville. Didn't let them do anything offensively. The Stallions are playing great defense as well.
Yeah, and what I'm really impressed with South Point, the prior 2 weeks before the Greenville game, even
Yeah.
they beat a Lawrence team that I thought, and I thought Lawrence is a good football team.
Yeah.
Very, very good football team. They only lost teams to games, really close games to really good teams.
Hannah, Clinton, those guys. Yeah.
Close games, and South Point blew them out.
Yep.
And then the very next week, they beat a Greenwood team that you could have told me they were going to play for the state championship this week, and I would have totally believed you. Beating by 10.
Yeah.
A very good physical South Point team, and then, or a Greenwood team rather. And we talked about South Point, how good they are offensively. And they played a Greenville team last week, and we thought last week, we were like, this is probably going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a shootout. It's a defensive battle. They won the defensive battle, too. They made a big special teams play, or a big fumble recovery.
Yep.
Fumble recovery for a touchdown. Being able to win on defense is a big deal when you're an offensive team. Be able to win multiple ways. That's a really, really good sign. And, it seemed like Greenville after that AC4 game, it was the team of destiny.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to beat Greenville was a really, really big deal last week, obviously. As good as Beaufort has played, I have a hard time picking against them, but it's South Point. They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. They can play deep. They can win on defense. They can win on offense. They got all kind of talent. Devontae Holland, he's the guy, right?
Yeah.
He should be he's kind of the mentor to LeBron. So I feel like I have to go South Point here, but man, I'm not betting any money on it.
It's like same thing. Like you look at Beaufort, and you feel like they're playing so well, but then you look at South Point, and I'm a huge Zay McCrory fan. That this kid, if you haven't seen him play, you guys will enjoy it Thursday night at 7:00. Big kid, like can run, can sling it. And then Wayman Jenneret, you hear me talking about him all season long. I love Wayman Jenneret. Very multiple. Does some Wildcat stuff for them. Catches a ton of passes. I think he broke their single season record a couple weeks ago. But then along with him, the Thompson kid and Kendrick and those guys, lots of weapons. And you worry about Beaufort if they just might get overwhelmed by the weapons. But they stopped their team like Myrtle Beach. So maybe they're fine. I don't know.
I don't know that anyone's got more weapons than Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And they beat them there.
Yeah.
I got to lean South Point here just because of the talent perspective. And Beaufort has proved it doesn't matter the talent-wise. They beat the most talented, in my opinion, the most talented team in 4A already this year. But can they keep it going? Can one more game? Can they do it? I don't know. I like South Point in this game, but I think this could be another. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think defenses are going to be locked in. And state championship, you got a little bit of nerves, more so than normal. And I think you have more nerves, and you're a little more butterflies going on defense, and capitalize on that a little bit more in the offense.
Yeah. I'm going to go Beaufort. Close one.
All right.
Look for Hunter Rast, big punt return. Put him in a good position to score at one point. I don't know what I'm doing with that pick, but that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Beaufort. Rashody's got South Point in a close one. Derek Bethea, what's going on, Derek? Marvin says, hey, what's up, friends? Going on, Marvin? Good to see you, man. But that'll be a great game Thursday night. We'll be down there for that one for sure. So if you guys are in town for any of these football games, definitely hit us up. We may be having a little tailgate on Friday, depending on what time we can get out there with the parking and whatnot. But definitely say hey to us if you see us. Love to talk some ball with you guys, man. Love to do that for sure, John. Before we move into 3A here, let's do a quick shout out to our friends over at the George Agency. Open enrollment is here. This is the time to get your insurance figured out, guys. If you need it, if you have it, don't have it through your company, if you're maybe your seasonal worker or something like that where your company doesn't offer insurance, talk to Bradley Wainrich from the crew at George Agency. They can definitely help you out. Serving the insurance needs of Carolina for over 35 years. Or if you're a small business owner, they can help you out there to give you umbrella coverage for your whole group there. So definitely check them out at georgeagency.net. That's at georgeagency.net. And then our friends at Secured Advantage Federal Credit Union. They have a clear purpose to improve the financial lives of their members. They offer much lower loan rates and don't charge the fees other banks do. Whatever your personal journey, Secured Advantage is here to offer you smart financial solutions. Join today, securedadvantage.com. Win at banking, thrive at life, member NCUA. So check out both our friends there for all your insurance and banking needs. A couple comments here. Ryan says South Point QB is legit. Yes, Zay McCrory, big fan. He can really, really play. Super good player there. If you guys haven't watched him, you'll enjoy that as well on Thursday night, John. But let's see. Derek says he's exited out early. Appreciate you, Derek. Good seeing you, man. Talk to you soon. But John, let's look down at 3A now. A matchup that is very familiar because we just saw it literally last year. and that is the Daniel Lions taking on the Camden Bulldogs here at 2 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun game too. I'm a little bit worried about this one because of what happened last year. I know it's two different teams, but the problem for Camden is the guys that tore them up on offense last year, they're still at Daniel.
Yep.
But the one thing that's interesting here, will Eli Merck at Daniel be able to play? Could be a concussion that he suffered Friday in the Upper State Championship. If that's the case, you don't think he plays on Friday afternoon. We'll find out probably 2 o'clock Friday. But, last year they were two evenly matched teams. I think I don't know if Daniel's better than they were last year or not. I think they might have been a little bit better last year. I think Camden was definitely a little bit better last year than they are this year. But the big difference in this game last year was Daniel was able to top off the Camden defense.
Yep.
They threw the ball deep, which is great. But for them to be able to win Friday afternoon, they're going to have to do the same exact thing. I was down at Zimp Stadium Friday against for Camden Dillon, and I was very, very impressed with that Camden defensive line led by Xavier McLeod. I mean, they are. You talk about people talk about gap stuffers.
Mm-hmm.
That is the entire defensive line.
They've got a great D-line.
Yeah, it kind of messes with your eyes because they're both wearing black helmets. They're both wearing black pants. Like, I don't know about that. No, there's just no holes. The Camden defensive line was incredible. They tackle very well. They are coached by Brian Rupp. They love that guy. They play hard for him, and they're a very sound team, especially defensively. They want to run the ball. They've got a 10th grader who was supposed to be playing quarterback for them this year. He's stepped in. He's done a good job. But, again, he's a 10th grader, and Pierman's going to be a better passer for sure in this ball game. But it's going to come down to an awesome defensive line for Camden and then the passing attack for Daniel.
Yep.
Because I don't think Daniel's going to have much success running the football, and I don't see Camden having a ton of success throwing the football. It's going to be interesting to see those two play out. But that's going to be the two storylines and the big fight in this game.
Yeah.
That Camden defensive line and with the secondary too. They played very well last Friday against Dillon, but they didn't play against Trent Pierman. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out.
Daniel comes in at 13-0, averaging 47 points per game on offense, 11 on defense, led by Trent Pierman, Chris Edge, Torrey Shaw, Eli Merck, my son Kelly, Clay Swinney, Brown Wallace, Lawson, Bat, Kahn. Let's go on another talented team there. Camden, 11-2. They've lost to Gray, Collegiate, and AC Flora. No slouch either one of those teams are there. 28 points offensively per game, 12 allowed defensively per game. White, Hickman, McLeod, those guys you mentioned there. My worry, John, I think that Camden defense is probably better than any defense that Daniel has faced. I just worry they can score enough. Because you got to think, even if Camden plays, their best defensive game, Daniel's probably going to score 24, 28 points at least. And I just worry if Camden can get there. Because, we talk about the Daniel defense, how well they play. Daniel offense, how well they play. The defense gets overlooked. They play some great football, too. Allowing 7 to Clinton a couple weeks ago. Was it just 20 to Chester last week? They played some high-powered offenses, too, and really done a great job defensively.
Yeah, and they played really well in the second half.
Yep.
Last Friday. That was a dogfight to begin with Chester Daniel. Chester had the lead at one point early in the game. Daniel did a great job finishing that game and really putting the pedal to the metal there. So the Camden defense, it's great. That's their strength because that's what they're going to need, and that's what I don't think you can get in a shootout with Daniel. I don't know if anybody in 3A could get in a shootout with Daniel and win the game. You got to play defense. You got to keep them low. And I think Camden could keep Daniel probably in the 20s. But again, I don't know that Camden can score. They got to have a little bit of magic. I think they got to have some turnovers. But we saw Friday.
They got 5 of them.
They got 5 of them, but they were more self-inflicted turnovers by Dillon more so than Camden. And Camden was on the spot. They had the guys in the right place at the right time. And that's a big part of football, big part of playing defense. But this is going to be a totally different animal playing this Daniel team. I'm going to be interested to see because I think as well coached as Camden is, I think they're going to be ready. They know where they got beat last year. They know they got to keep these dang wide receivers in front at all costs.
Yeah.
We went to the Seneca game, and we saw maybe 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and you saw Seneca DBs playing 10, 15 yards off the receiver. Unfortunately, I think for Camden, I think you kind of have to do that.
Make them drive and not give them the big play.
You have to play off and make sure you guard against that big play, because I think you have to trust your defensive line and say, hey, listen, we're going to put our 4 against their 5, or our front 7 against their 5 offensive line. And you just got to beat them every play, and make sure they cannot run the ball and turn them into one-dimensional. I think they can do that.
Yeah.
The other issue you have, Trent Peterman, he's not a statue back there either.
Yeah.
He can move around. When you have a quarterback that can move around, that adds that extra runner that you have to account for. I think Camden, their defense is so good, it's going to keep them in the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
But, they played a somewhat similar team in Brooklyn-Cayce a few weeks ago. BC scored 24 on them.
Yeah.
I expect Daniel to be able to do the same, if not more. And Daniel's defense is probably a little bit better than Brooklyn-Cayce's. So it's going to be a great game, because it's going to be a really, really good defense against a really good offense. I just think Daniel's offense is just a little bit – I think what it comes down to, I think the Daniel defense is a little bit better than the Camden offense.
Yeah,
that's what makes the difference here. I think you'll see Camden neutralize that Daniel offense, unlike any other you've seen all year this year. Just that Camden offense. They don't have a Zandon. They need a Zandon.
Yeah.
That team is what they need.
Yeah, looking back to last year, Daniel won that game 52-31. Really blew them out. It was close early, then you said they kept hitting those big passes. That was something we talked about earlier this year, where it seemed like Daniel was missing that explosiveness. They just didn't have it. But then they found it against Clinton, it sounds like. They found it last week against Chester. You do worry, though, Eli Merck and Chris Edge, they're help. Edge was out a couple weeks ago, came back and played something like he hurt his knee again last week. Don't know. I don't expect him to play, but I don't know for sure. And then Merck, who knows if he's going to get to go or not. If they lose him, that's another big weapon they're going to be without. I think the key for Camden, if they want to win this game, they got to shorten the game. So basically, I think when they get it on offense, they need to run it and run it and run it some more. They need to, really chew that clock, give Daniel as few possessions as you can. Maybe hope that, maybe you get up a touchdown early and maybe you stop Daniel once or twice. Maybe they panic a little bit and make a stupid play, something like that. Because I think, like you said, John, if you get into a shootout with them, and if you score, but you score within a couple minutes, that's how Daniel wants to play. Like you can't start going up and down with those guys. You got to slow it down, limit their time holding the ball, and just hope that you make one more play than they do. And that's kind of the roller coaster they got into last year in Columbia. They scored easy. They scored pretty easy. Yeah, Willis Lang was running all over them. Yeah, they couldn't. Here comes Daniel doing it again. Yeah, they couldn't score as much. Daniel, you got. I agree with you. You got to take some air out that ball. But I tell you what, I think a little bit of a disadvantage. And you want to look at how Camden can win this game. A little bit of disadvantage for Daniel. What I think is typically one of the most physical teams in Upper State year in year out is Chapman. Mm-hmm. They didn't play Chapman. Yeah, they come across them. Chester's a really good team, but they kind of half-line offense, and they're playing really hot. Clinton, they got the smaller offensive line. They kind of shoot around the field a little bit offensively. This is going to be the most physical team they play. Yeah. And I'm not talking about just Camden defense. Camden's quarterback is 235. Yeah, he runs it hard. He might be a 10th grader, but he looks like an adult. And he is going to run the ball, and they're going to hit them. They're going to hit them hard. That Camden offensive line, some of those defensive line play offensive line too. Those are big kids. They're going to make them play 48 minutes. And what you don't want to get into if you're Camden or if you're Daniel, you don't want Camden to get the ball, run the ball, move the chains, and then the fourth quarter comes around, and you or Daniel, and you haven't played a ton of fourth quarter games. Yep. Camden has. Yeah. And Camden's played some fourth quarter games against some really good teams like AC Flora, Dillon. Mm-hmm. Camden's ready for it. They're built for it. Daniel, it's not as much. Not as much. If it's a tied ball game or Camden has the lead going to the fourth quarter, it could be trouble for Daniel. Yeah, like I said, I think the key, they got to shorten the game, run the ball, and then make Daniel drive it. Like we said, maybe back off and give them that 4 or 5 yard pass, but don't give them the 70-yard pass. Give them the short one, don't give them the long one. Make them drive it, make them be patient and take the time to win. But I've got to lean Daniel here. Maybe 10 points, 14 points. I just think that offense is too much, I think, for Camden. I think it's going to be a 7 to 10 point game.
And the reason I say that is if Edge doesn't play, and especially if Merck doesn't play, and that actually could swing to the Camden advantage. Merck is a huge weapon. He's such a big guy. He's a mismatch for whoever has to guard him. But if Camden can make Daniel drive the ball, as you said, I saw Dylan last week. They made Dylan made the ball. Mm-hmm. They made Dylan snap. A lot of long drives. When you have long drives and you got young kids, you can make mistakes.
Yep.
So that's one thing. And one thing Camden has to do too, they cannot have penalties. They had a ton of offensive penalties. They cleaned it up as the game went on, but early on they had a ton of offensive penalties. You can't get behind the sticks.
Yep.
You can't get behind the sticks. You got to take advantage of those offensive opportunities you have, and you gotta string those drives out. It's gonna be a fun game to watch, but I think Daniel's got the edge. It's Daniel's game to lose for sure, but they're not gonna play better. There's not another defense that they've come across.
That's right. That game is 2 p.m. on Friday afternoon. A couple comments here. JD says Daniel too much offense. Rashodi said he's picking Daniel. George says defense wins the game for Camden. Tommy says Daniel by 14. JD says my son Kelly's a sleeper. He's a big-time player. Ryan Franklin says the Camden DL is very good. Thinks Daniel's going to beat him with the passing attack, though. George Chavis says, I think I told you guys last week, Camden and Daniel rematch. Camden wins. You did say that. You did come in here last week and call the Camden victory. So hats off to you on that one. You were all over it for sure. John, let's look down at what may be my favorite game of the weekend right here. We thought we saw a state championship a couple weeks ago. I think this Silver Bluff team has something to say about that. And this is two-way here. We've got Gray Collegiate playing Silver Bluff in the nightcap on Friday, 7 p.m. Friday. Gray Collegiate coming in at 13-1. Silver Bluff coming in at 11-0. Two really, really evenly matched football teams. Gray's averaging 41 per game offensively, allowing 12 per game on defense. Silver Bluff, 47 per game on offense, 8 per game on defense. John, we know about KZ Adams and what Gray can do there, but Silver Bluff has a lot of playmakers on their side as well.
Yeah, and they score with anybody, and that defense is really good. Barnwell put up some points on last week. They did. Barnwell put up some points, but Silver Bluff, man, they're nasty. I mean, what is a worse team to play than a Silver Bluff team? They run the ball really, really well, and they play really good defense. I mean, that is the worst recipe you could have for an opponent. They have done really, really well. One thing I'm a little worried about with Silver Bluff, they played Barnwell, who played great during the playoffs, and they played Sherall last week, really good Sherall team. Other than that, they got the bye, and then they played a bad Central team. Gray, they have been tested, I'm not going to say they've been tested, but they have played good competition every single week of the season. Their out-of-reach schedule was, you couldn't beat it. They played Camden and Gaffney.
They played two teams playing for state championships.
They played Ridgeview, and they beat one of them.
Yeah, and played Oceanside, too, another good team, yeah.
And their region's a tough region.
Yeah,
you
I think that's going to be too late, probably, yeah.
Yeah, they have been tested, and I think Silver Bluff's good enough to play with them. But I was thinking earlier this week, I kept looking at the score and I was going, gosh, 35-28. Man, I thought they were going to beat them worse than that. But you know what the deal is? They won the game.
Yeah, and don't forget, that was the last game for Coach Strickland. They put out all the stops Newberry did there.
They won the game, and I think when it comes down to it, I think it could be a close game. I think it could be a 10-point game. But when it comes down to it, I think Gray's going to make the plays. They are just, you listen to Coach Holmes talk, you listen to KZ talk, you just watch how they play defensively, how they play offensively. These guys are winners.
Yeah.
These guys are winners. I can't go against them.
Yeah, Gray led by KZ Adams, Trey Robinson at quarterback, Riley State at quarterback. They got Harrison Johnson out wide. Defense led by Torrey Kelly, Zach Glenn. A lot of playmakers for those guys. Obviously, what you start to see some of this 2A and 1A stuff here, these guys going both ways. KZ plays both ways all game, so does Torrey Kelly, a bunch of other guys for them. Silver Bluff led by Dunbar, the running back, really good, really big players, a sophomore, Malik Williams, the quarterback, Dixon and Walker and McLeod. Two really, really strong teams there. Like I mentioned, or like you mentioned there, John, Gray has played such a tough schedule. Out of conference was just nuts. Playing two teams who are still playing this weekend, which nobody else has done that this year. I know that. That's a great schedule there for them. And then you got to mention this, John. KZ Adams went over 3,000 yards for the season last week.
That is awesome.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Awesome.
So I believe that puts him as the all-time single-season leader for South Carolina as far as the stats that we can find. It looks like.
And as far as we know, the only guy in the state of South Carolina to rush for 3,000 yards in the season.
Yeah, number
and
one.
It's not like they're playing more games.
That's right.
It's been consistent. We're talking Derek Watson, Demetrius Summers, Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah.
None of them have done
Stan
it.
Manning, lots of big games.
None of them have done it.
And I believe
Just
he's
get
now
that.
second to Summers in all-time rushing. And I think he's over 7,000 now, where Summers is up in his 8,000, something like that. But I think this game comes down to both teams are going to try to establish the run with Dunbar on Silver Bluff's team and then KZ on Gray's team. It may come down to either whose offensive line plays better in the trenches, who can get a push up front one night. But I think we need to look at the quarterbacks. Trey Robinson, the game we saw against Abbeville, very good football game. Threw the ball well, but had some big-time runs for them. We know what Riley State can do. If he comes in, he can sling it around a little bit, give them more of a passing option there. But then if you look at Silver Bluff, last week, Malik Williams had a huge game. Ran for like 180 yards, threw for another couple hundred. He had a big-time game for them. So maybe it comes down to not what KZ and Dunbar do. We know they're both going to get theirs pretty much. It may be more what quarterback complements their guys better.
Yeah, because that could be the difference. If the running backs both get theirs, they're going to bust a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But, those third downs, But, as good as these teams are, you're going to have a couple drives where you get behind the chains a little bit and you got to throw the ball downfield some.
Mm-hmm.
And it very well may come down to, hey, is it Gray that can throw the ball downfield a little bit better a couple times, or the Silver Bluff?
Mm-hmm.
And also, hey, you get these guys sucking in on that run, you pop one over the top, and then you back the defense up a little bit. And, it's going to be I think it's going to be a good little chess match on the sidelines as well. On what kind of
Coach Holmes, Coach Bryant do a great job there.
What kind of play can we see? But Silver Bluff has done an incredible job, and we were so looking forward to that Abbeville Gray game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a ton of storylines behind it.
Yeah.
But I think Abbeville people can y'all come on and tell us if y'all are watching too. The Abbeville team last year was a little better than the Abbeville team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that Abbeville team this year is not as good as the Silver Bluff team is. The Silver Bluff team
Hard to say.
Doggone good. And that was a competitive game. That was a competitive game we just saw at Fairfield Central High School. Abbeville is a great defense. I expect a similar kind of performance from Silver Bluff.
Yeah, one thing you got to watch out for if you're Gray is Silver Bluff starting the second half. Those guys are the kings of the second half. That first game against Barnwell, they were down 20-14 at half. I think scored like the next 40 points in a row starting the third quarter. And you look back at the Straw game in the playoffs, that game was 14-all at half. They ended up winning that game. What's the final?
56-14.
56-14. So Coach Bryant said something special at halftime. I don't know what it is, but if you're Gray, if you got a lead, you cannot rest against Silver Bluff in the third quarter. They're going to come out fired for sure. This is a game too, John, where similar to what we talked about earlier, this may be a limited possession game as well. If both teams get that run game going, eat some clock there, it may comes down to, kind of like the Abbeville Gray game did, who's going to make a mistake first. We saw Abbeville could have put it on the ground a couple times there, while Gray kept pushing it in the end zone every time. That'll be a big test there to see who can take care of the ball and really capitalize on their chances. I know Coach Holmes told us in the interview that I think in that Saluda game where they won 20-6, they only got the ball 6 times. If you can limit a team with playmakers like KZ Adams and Trey Robinson to getting the ball 6 times, you got a pretty good chance to win. We know Silver Bluff can score as well. I'm going to lean Gray because I like what KZ Adams brings to the table. I know we say it every week. The guy is probably the best player in the state, John. It's hard to go against him. It's hard to go against Coach Holmes. No offense at all to Coach Bryant and Trayvon Dunbar and those guys. Those guys can really play too, and they'll be back next year for sure. But I like Gray. I like KZ in his senior year going out a champion here. I'm going to go Gray Collegiate in what might be the best game of the weekend.
I'm going to go Gray as well, and I like for this game to be a shootout.
Okay.
And I think.
So you think they're scoring quick then with the run game?
I think KZ is too good of an athlete to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Silver Bluff, they can throw it, they can run it. They're just so good offensively as well. I think Gray's going to have a hard time accounting for that. I think they're going to be able to score as well. I think this game's going to come down. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 7 to 10 point game. It could come down. We talk about all these teams, how they got with special teams. It could come down to special teams.
And I got a comment for you on there before we head out. Last week, Silver Bluff muffed a punt, turned into points for Barnwell. Barnwell also opened the game and recovered onside kicking at Silver Bluff. Very tight. While on the flip side, Gray returned a kickoff 4 touchdown last week. Just watch out for the special teams, John. Watch out for the special teams, John. Watch out for the special teams, John. That could be the difference. I'm going to go Gray in a close, but I think the War Eagles pull it out and win that state championship this week.
I think this is arguably, Gaffney Dutch Fork's obviously really cool. It has a ton of cachet. This could potentially be the most exciting game of the weekend. Because I think it'll probably be a 10-7 ball game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be super exciting. The most exciting player in Columbia this weekend is going to be Casey Adams. If you want to see one player, go to this game. And watch him play because he is truly special.
This is the 7 p.m. Friday night ball game here. Ryan said he's going to be down there on Friday for the games. Ryan, let us know, man. Come say hey for sure. Tom says he's going with Silver Bluff. Terrence says Silver Bluff defense will win the game. It certainly could happen. You know, the McLeod kid is a stud over there for those guys. Rashodi says probably the best game of the weekend. He's got Gray winning. JD says this game is going to be a great game. Thomas says, a lot of Abbeville has a lot of young boys. They'll be set for the next couple of years. Okay. Greg says Abbeville will be back next year. Gray has 15 seniors. That is correct. Another reason I'm liking what Gray's doing there. A lot of senior leadership there from the Lorick kid and Alec Johnson and Trey Robinson, Casey Adams. A lot of senior leaders there. Torrey Kelly, Zach Glenn, those guys. A lot of experience there for Gray. I'm going with the War Eagles as well, John. Let's look down now at 1A. And we have Southside Christian taking on Bamberg-Ehrhardt. This is the noon game on Saturday, John. Southside Christian comes in at 12-0. Bamberg-Ehrhardt comes in at 14-0. I tell you what, going through these games, John, we haven't seen anybody, a real sleeper, make a deep run in the playoffs if we just look at the records here from across any classification, honestly. But crazy to see that. I got some crazy stats here for you, John. You got to listen to this. Southside Christian averaging 44 points per game on offense.
Very nice.
Allowing 5 per game on defense.
Even better.
5, John. 5. That's less than a touchdown per game.
That's not bad for college baseball.
That's right. 5 per game on defense for Southside Christian. Bamberg averaging 31 per game on offense, allowing 8 on defense. So another very strong defense there. Southside Christian led by quarterback Corey Martin. Last week, John, he had 5 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown. Scored 6 out of the 7 that scored against Lamar, and just a blowout for them. TJ Goldsmith, a great player. The Woodfield kid, Ashton Hood. A lot of talent for the Sabres there. Bamberg-Ehrhardt, kind of a 3-headed monster there running the ball with the Folk kid and Banks and Quincy Bias, a kid I like a lot who plays both plays. He's a really good player there. This is a game where, Southside Christian trying to repeat as champions. We know they've got the talent. We know they got the athletes. Everybody, gets up in arms about this whole situation. I don't get into all that, all that stuff there. But they got a lot of players. Bamberg, physical, hard-nosed defense, John. Can Bamberg pull this one out?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. They've got an awesome defense.
Yes, they do. Coach Crosby does a great job down there with those guys.
So did Lamar.
Yeah.
So did Lamar. This is a super good Southside team, and they're another team where, and it's not a surprise. A lot of teams here this weekend are like this. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball if they need to, and they play really, really good defense. Bamberg-Ehrhardt plays great defense. Their offense, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're okay, but the Southside offense, it's just they can do anything. Yeah. They can do anything. Bamberg-Ehrhardt, super physical, but they're not quite. I think polished is the right way to put it. I don't think they're quite as polished offensively. Yeah. I think defensively, they're every bit as good as Southside.
Yeah, and you got to remember, they lost their quarterback when the playoffs started. Bamberg is. That's a big loss for them. I was super impressed last week holding C.E. Murray to 6 points. C.E. Murray scored, I think, 41 or 47 against Well Branch 2 weeks ago. Holding to 6 is a big-time performance there defensively. And like we say, this time of year, defense travels, run game travels. They have both of those, but so does Southside Christian. They play great defense. They've allowed the most in the game was 15, and that was to 4A Greer. They've allowed 14 a couple times, I think, to Calhoun and then maybe C.A. Johnson in the playoffs, but 15 is their highest, and that was to Greer. Those guys can get it done on the ground and through the air, and they play a very tough defense, very athletic, very physical there. I think I've got to lean Southside Christian, and I hate to say it, John, this game might not be close. You know, we saw what they did at Lakeview last year. A good Lakeview team we thought.
Very good.
They blew them out. Southside Christian has, I think, a very good shot to win back-to-back state championship this weekend.
I think so, too. And unfortunately, if you flip back through the games here, I don't know if we see a blowout this weekend except for maybe in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I hope not. I hope it is.
I hope not either. I hope it's a great game. Ideally, this is a low-scoring, close ball game against two really good defenses, and well-played, clean ball game as well, which very well could happen.
Yeah,
very well could happen. But Southside, they are just they're run different. They're just run different. You know, they are very clean, well coached.
Yeah, Coach Sonneborn does a great job there. Yeah.
They don't have a ton of penalties. They just play a really good brand of football. But Bamberg-Ehrhardt, again, that's probably going to be the most physical team they're going to play. Lamar, same idea.
Yeah.
Same idea, but Bamberg-Ehrhardt, they're better than Lamar.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're better than
I think so too. And I think, their best chance in this game is to really just, make it ugly and muck it up. Get it into a slugfest where, like we said for Camden against Daniel, run the ball, run it some more, make Southside Christian drive on you. Don't let them hit the big play. Really just eat the clock up with Bias and Folk and Banks and those guys. That's what you've got to do if you're Bamberg. But I don't know if you can do it because the talent that Southside Christian has on defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get nasty enough and rip out the ball a couple times and make it to where those guys don't want to hit you and don't want to get tackled, yeah, it could turn to a different kind of ball game. And if there anyone is to do that, the Southside Christian, it's this Bamberg team. And you mentioned the game last week, only giving up 6 to C.E. Murray. I was equally impressed with the week before a Baptist Hill team that we really hadn't talked about.
Yeah.
Really, supposed to be the toughest competition in the lower state in the playoffs for Bamberg-Ehrhardt. They're even 33-6.
Another team you could sling it around too. So
they blow them out. So it's going to be a great test for Southside Christian if they blow them out. Boy,
hats off to those guys.
That is something else. That is something else. But hopefully it's a great game. Hopefully it's good defense, and it's gonna be fun to see that Bamberg defense fly around out there and try to stop.
Yeah, a couple comments here. Jody says Southside Christian not even close. Jody, you were probably at that Lamar game. I'm sure you know how that goes there. How that went. JD says Upper State 4-1 this weekend. He has Dutch Fork, the only winner for the lower state. Oh wow. Aaron Richard says who's the favorite? Dutch Fork Gaffney. I saw that Twitter account today. I don't even want to say their name because people don't really like what they do, but they do weekly spreads. They had Dutch Fork as a 20.5-point favorite.
No.
Which, you give me Gaffney and 20 points all day long.
Yeah. I bet in the house, win money, buy more houses.
Yes. I think we're both leaning Dutch Fork in a close game in that one, but that'll be a knockdown, drag-out fight to the end for sure. Before we get out of here, John, I do want to give a quick shout-out to our sponsors, again, the Georgia Agency and Security Advantage Federal Credit Union. If you guys need insurance for your business, need some group insurance, or need it for yourself, personal, whatever it is, check out Bradley, Wayne Richard, and the crew, georgia.net. Been serving the Carolinas for over 35 years. They do a great job. Open enrollment is here. Definitely want to get in on that now as you can. And then check our friends out at Security Advantage Federal Credit Union as well. They have a clear purpose for improve the financial lives of their members. They offer much lower loan rates and don't charge the fees other banks do. Whatever your personal journey, they're here to offer you smart financial solutions. Security Advantage Federal Credit Union, Win at Banking, Thrive at Life, member NCUA. So great friends there between those two. Definitely check those guys out if you need any credit union / banking or insurance needs here in the state of South Carolina. John, this is our last preview show of the season, which stinks because the season flew by. But man, a lot of fun to spend, a great season. We're going to wrap it up with some great games this weekend.
So I want to ask one thing, and I think I know the answer.
Oh, God.
I've got 2 questions for you, okay?
Oh, God.
And it can't be the same. I'm going to ask you who your favorite player of the state was this year. Okay. And I'll ask you who your favorite team has been this year. And it can't be player and then team of that same player.
They can't be the same?
They
got to still be
because
playing?
I think what you would pick.
Do they got to still be playing?
No, they don't have to still be playing.
Okay. I think favorite player has got to be Casey Adams. I mean, what he has done has been very, very fun to watch. Give me a second on team. You give me your players. I'll think about my team.
Okay. Well, boy, I didn't have.
Put you back on the spot. You already. JD says, appreciate the good work, fellas. JD, appreciate you commenting and tuning in, man. We really enjoyed chatting with you guys throughout the season. Definitely build it up some more. Definitely tune into our recap show on Sunday. If you guys hadn't listened to that, it's over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. That'll come out Sunday, recapping all 5 of the games there. So definitely tune in there. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram, Movin the Chains, BINCHAINS. Same thing here on Facebook. We do interviews throughout the year. We got some interviews coming for you guys throughout the summer as well. Just catching up with different coaches and players. That'll be a lot of fun. And one thing, John, we're going to try to do after the game. So Twitter has a new thing called Twitter Spaces. So if you follow us on Twitter, definitely check us out because basically it's like a group chat after a game where we can all talk. So we're going to try to get those going maybe either Thursday or Friday night. Check out some of the games. There's definitely tune in on Facebook on Twitter for that here this weekend, John. But are you ready with your player of the year or your favorite player to watch of the season?
So my favorite player, I'm gonna give a runner-up to Nelson at AC4.
Okay.
He was
Townsend.
The punt returner.
Lofton. Chris Lofton.
Runner-up to him. Very exciting player. When we saw him play against Greenville, I thought this kid's gonna take one to the house.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he did it. But my favorite player to watch this year, Pro Franklin out of Greenville.
He's a good one.
That
he was
kid,
a good one.
I mean, I haven't seen a kid get hit that hard, that much in the couple games that I saw this year than he did. And, man, he just put it all on the money. Kept getting up. Well-spoken kid. Great teammate. You never saw him, guys, get on anybody.
Yep.
You know, just cool, collective, exactly what you want in the leader, exactly what you want in the quarterback. He's my favorite player this year.
Okay. Favorite team? You got that one ready? Because I've so many I like. You know, I mean, looking back at 5A, I love the Hillcrest team. They were a lot of fun to watch. I love what Will Madison did at Northwestern. You know, Fort D, Zoltan Osborne, a guy I hit on every week, I felt like. Looking down at 4A, I love Greenwood. I like what those guys did there. You know, hard not to like what Beaufort's doing. 2A, you know, Gray, Silver Bluff, Abbeville, all could be in that list there. I'll tell you what I'm going to go with. And they didn't make the deepest run. Actually, I got a tie. I got a tie for two here. Powdersville and Clinton. Two guys. It may have helped their coaches gave us interviews that I'm not going to, no shame in that. But they were two fun teams to follow that made deep runs or had great seasons. People maybe not have seen coming into the year for sure.
Well, if I was going to pick Powdersville.
Oh man,
Powdersville is going to be my pick. I'll give two then as well. I want to say Powdersville as well. The fact they had an undefeated regular season.
Yep.
Coming from literally, that was a great interview that you guys did. Literally from nothing to now an undefeated regular season and not a ton of time. I love quarterback play.
Yep.
Running back, so much fun to watch. He's going to be good at the next level. And then my second team, I want to say Spartanburg.
Okay. Raheem Jeter, they got it rolling.
It was, man, what's wrong with Spartanburg? What's wrong with this Hodgcoach team? And then, boy, did they turn it up at the end of the year. And they had an excellent playoff run, ran through two of the best teams in the Midlands. I know Dutch Fork, but
yeah,
two of the hottest teams from the Midlands, back-to-back weeks in Ridgeview and Spring Valley. I really like how they, I'm not going to say turn things around, but they just kept improving.
Yep.
Kept elevating. Made it through the upper state championship. Super proud of those guys. They were a lot of fun to watch.
They're building something special there for sure. Ryan says, been fun, fellas. May see y'all Friday. Yeah, definitely let us know. We'll probably post up a picture of where we're going to be.
Yeah.
So definitely stop by. JD said Facebook Live will be nice for Sunday. We'll see. No promises on that. We'll see how that works. But anything else, Sean, before we get out of here for some big-time games this weekend?
I'm pumped about this weekend. I'm taking Friday off of work, and it's going to be all football.
Yeah. Come check us out. Moving the Chains will be down there in Columbia. To spend the night Thursday night. So if you guys want to buy some food or drink after the game, we'll be around. Just let us know. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. But for John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our state championship Weekend of Champions preview show here on Facebook Live. We will catch you guys, I guess, next season, John.
I won't be back till next season.
See you guys soon.